The basis of this program is fact that all of us, regardless of our beliefs, can do nothing but profit from a free exchange of ideas. Using that yardstick, now to our story.
On Wednesday night, Donald Trump did something no other presidential nominee has ever done. He refused to say that he would respect the results of this election. Now, make no mistake, by doing that, he is threatening our democracy. He is basically saying, hey, we've been around 240 years, and we've always had peaceful transitions, no matter who won or who lost. Look, if you lose an election, I've lost elections, you don't feel very good the next day, do you? But we know in our country the difference between leadership and dictatorship, right? And the peaceful transition of power is one of the things that sets us apart. It's how we hold our country together, no matter who's in charge.
The news. Here is an illustrated summary of the news, happenings at home and abroad.
Hello, my fellow Americans. This is the Brock Wally program. My name is Brock Wally. I am your fearless host. I hope you had a nice Yuletide. I hope you had a wonderful Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Oh, man, I'll tell you what. I know there's been a lot of, I see the little liberal memes. Now this and whatnot on Facebook and the internets. And they're just, they're mocking the fact that people are just, they're letting their hair down, aren't they? They're letting their hair down. They feel a release. They feel a release in the bubble that was secular extremism, that was social engineering, that was political correct strangling. They just do. I got to tell you, and it could just be, I allow for this in my mind because there's psychological like imprints on everything. But I feel like this Advent season, this Christmas, I saw people just blurt it out unapologetically. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. And you have to admit, no matter who you are, the left had tried to snuffle that, didn't they? Snuffleupagus that. Didn't they? Didn't they? Oh, they did. Ladies and gentlemen, Hillary Clinton. Let's just be honest. Hillary Clinton is the definition of a loser. Right? I'm not saying Hillary Clinton personally is a loser, but Hillary Clinton in this election is the definition of a loser. Hillary Clinton lost the election. Hillary Clinton didn't just lose the election. Hillary Clinton lost 3 of the most liberal states in our country. And Hillary Clinton's loss rippled into an astonishing loss of power from sea to shining sea, locally, municipalities, states. The astounding number of positions of power that the Democrat Party, the liberals, lost in this election. It's remarkable. And by the way, if you factor in all 8 years of the Obama administration, it's stunning how much. It's a generation of power lost. Nonetheless, let's get back to the point. Hillary Clinton is a loser. Now, what happens when you lose? I mean, I was an athlete, a very competitive athlete in high school, and I had a lot of losses. I even had a successful career as an athlete, and I still had a lot of losses. What did you do? What did your coaches tell you to do? What did your parents, if you had competent parents, what did they tell you to do? Did they tell you to burn stuff down in the streets? I don't remember that lecture from my coach. Did they tell you to make a whole laundry list of leftist excuses? Did they tell you to blame mythical creatures found only in children's storybooks, like the missing link and the evil boogeyman? Or did they tell you to examine yourself, analyze what happened, self-correct, get back up on the horse, or whatever other analogy you want to use there, and get back out there? Well, see, what has happened in our nation is Hillary Clinton and the Democrat Party losers have not had to, for a host of reasons. The biggest of those reasons is the media is allowing them to live in the land of loony leftist delusion. Look up the actual Webster's Dictionary definition of delusion. Read it verbatim, and then ask yourself if you find a correlation between the behavior of the Democratic Party post-election. Nonetheless, you have none of that. You have none of that. You have zero of that happening because in their mind, it wasn't them, it wasn't their ideas, it wasn't their policies. This is certainly bad for the Democratic Party, but it's very, very, very bad for the American people. And if you want to just salt that wound of reality, you have this host of soundbite, this host of irrefutable, right out of the horse's mouth soundbite about how one should behave in a 240-year-old democracy republic, how one should behave in the midst of an election loss. And when you listen to the tone, I'm going to play you a hodgepodge of this. When you listen to the tone of Hillary Clinton and the Democrats, you'll see they had zero doubt of their victory. Why? Because they cocooned themselves. And I've told you this over and over again, but that's not the point. The tone when they were saying these things, these applied to other people. Other people needed to abide by this civility and this transfer of power, not them, as evidenced by what's transpired. Let's listen. Let's listen.
Flashback to when Hillary Clinton said refusing to accept election results was horrifying.
Well, okay. Chris, let me respond to that because that's horrifying. You know, every time Donald thinks things are not going in his direction, he claims whatever it is rigged against him. This is a mindset. This is how Donald thinks. And it's funny, but it's also really troubling. Okay. Now, that is not the way our democracy works. We've been around for 240 years. We've had free and fair elections. We've accepted the outcomes when we may not have liked them. And that is what must be expected of anyone standing on a debate stage during a general election.
He refused to say that he would respect the results of this election.
Now, make no mistake, by doing that, he is threatening our democracy.
Joe Scarborough couldn't control his laughter as Hillary is now calling for a recount.
I'm sorry. Okay, hold on.
Please,
hold on, that's funny.
Joe.
Hold on.
Stop.
All right,
Joining us now.
Hold on. No, he's threatening our democracy if he does exactly what she's doing on September 28th, which he said, I'm holding open my options and all legal rights to challenge anything. I mean, they're going to try to move this around, but you take what Donald Trump said. All he did was leave open the option to do exactly what Hillary Clinton's doing.
Voices
I'm
here.
just curious, the other say, is democracy threatened, or is this actually what people do? This is what people do in elections. Hillary's doing what people do. But when Trump even suggested it, well, democracy was at risk for saying I'm going to leave open my options. This is why you're all going out of business.
Okay, joining.
You still don't get it. You're still being hypocritical.
Please
you can get it wrong, like in the primary. That's fine. You get it wrong in the general election, but you keep getting it wrong. You still don't get it. You're still being hypocritical. You can get it wrong, like in the primary. That's fine. You get it wrong in the general election, but you keep getting it wrong.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I played that for you in its entirety. I played The Morning Joe, which I do occasionally watch. It's an interesting show. I've also met Joe one time at CPAC. He was an amiable guy, but I got to be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of his. But this is a fascinating kind of exchange because Maya, the token liberal, who is just painful in her like regurgitation of Rachel's talking points the night before. It's like hearing things that she doesn't want to. It's like, please stop. I'm getting a headache. Shh, Joe. Shh. Now this might appear to the listener to be funny, anecdotal, but it's actually not funny. It's so representative of Democrat mindset, Democrat ideology, Democrat thinking. Their world never has to hear these things, and when they do, they have that chalkboard reaction. They have that, I mean, this isn't just me trying to be funny. This is everywhere. This is throughout the college university setup. This is throughout their echo chambers and their inbred Appalachian, Trail liberal patches in the Upper East Side and faculty lounges and editorial boards. And this is why this is important, because in their mind, they're allowed to continue on with a completely fabricated, whole cloth fabricated reason for losing, which at first it was what? It was Russians, and then it was, it was Comey. It was that Hillary's duplicitous, evil corruption was exposed to the light in a democracy, and thus it was unfair. I don't really know how that's unfair. For example, if I cheat on my wife, and my wife finds out, but finds out in a way that I wouldn't prefer her to find out, that doesn't make my cheating on my wife any less abhorrent or disgusting. By the way, I haven't, and will never cheat on my wife. My point is if you found out, even if you were a person in my life, would you care if the way that my wife found out? Would I be able to say as a refute, well, somebody showed my wife photographs, somebody showed my wife video, I didn't approve of this. Corruption. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason this is all important, the reason this is all valid, the reason this all matters is because for the Democrat Party to continue to not recognize they are political losers means what will they do as a response? Well, the healthy thing to do in a democracy, a healthy thing to do in the republic that is this country, is to regroup, message, find out where you've lost your way, why have the people not responded to you, self-correct, offer up, specifically in a two-party system, offer up a different message, offer up new ideas. It's a chance to stir the pot. It's a chance to get new blood in there. It's a chance to get new speaking, new ideas, so on and so forth. And then you return to the ballot 4 years later with those ideas and you offer them to the American people. But if you choose instead to blame everybody, if mythical creatures, Putin, in fact, the fact that this administration, their talking point, as I speak to you right now, by the way, as laughable as this is, the latest spin is that Donald Trump wants to kill your children with a nuclear bomb. Based on nothing, by the way. Based on nothing. But it's true because, some liberal wrote it, scribbled it somewhere. Nonetheless, this is the party, this is the administration, the people propagating this insanity, this Mad Hatter insanity, literally enabled the very real threat of Iran's nuclear program. So it's just untethering continuously. There are these strings that tether the Democrat boat, I suppose, to the dock of our nation, of real-world threats, of economic realities, of healthcare realities. And they continue to get out the leftist, stone knife and saw away and fray away at the strands, the strings that anchor them and tether them to the land of reality. And instead, they just Peter Pan themselves into mythical realities, live there, speak as though they're real, circle those things, those ideas in the minds of this pack of already, safe space lunatics that they've created, that they've divided into fear. They fear everything. They fear some KKK member that doesn't exist. They fear race wars. They fear cops. These people are already unhinged. They pour on top of that, the sprinkle dust of their own imaginings instead of reality, which is economic realities that faced real people, energy realities that faced real people, healthcare realities that faced real people, a complete tone deafness to the very real threat of ISIS in our midst. And I could go on and on and on. None of those are the reasons that Democrats lost. Not the fact that they nominated a known criminal that you wouldn't want to spend 5 minutes with in a layover in an airport. None of these reasons are the reason they lost. Okay, again, I say to you, Hillary Clinton is a loser. And instead of doing what losers do, and this is the other problem, Hillary Clinton doesn't have to be the loser, right? It's also very beneficial for the Republican Party or the Democratic Party to recognize Hillary Clinton was the loser. Running someone like her, that speaks like her, that acts like her, that says things that she says, that's not appealing. That's a loser. But no, she doesn't have to face that because they circle the wagons, because facing that would have to mean reality comes in to that sort of membrane that they've created. Reality comes in to the incubator. Germs come in. Germs of truth come in to the incubator they've created. If they allow anything like that, this species will die. So they have to just... So Hillary Clinton isn't a loser. Hillary Clinton's running around out there talking about Russians this and Comey that and FBI this and John F. Kennedy wasn't killed by this and, you know, the aliens are here at Area 51 and all kinds of any old gibberish that she can spout off. It's just insane. And this is very problematic. This isn't stupid. This isn't petty. This is problematic for a democracy. It's problematic for a republic. It just is. It just is problematic. And if you look at all the editorial boards, if you look at all of the press writings, if you look at the left's reaction, if you look at all of the quote-unquote liberal voters, they spoon it in there, right? Spoonful of sugar, Mary Poppins style. They continue to grow into the gremlins that they've become. No self-correction. What does that do to the fabric of a nation? And also you have a responsibility at some point to admit that you lost essentially an idea popularity contest in the United States of America. And how do I know that you have a responsibility to do this? I know this because of this.
The basis of this program is fact.
On Wednesday night, Donald Trump did something no other presidential nominee has ever done. He refused to say that he would respect the results of this election. Now, make no mistake, by doing that, he is threatening our democracy. He is basically saying, hey, we've been around 240 years, and we've always had peaceful transitions, no matter who won or who lost. Look, if you lose an election, I've lost elections, you don't feel very good the next day, do you? But we know in our country the difference between leadership and dictatorship, right?
Now, my fellow Americans, listen to that tone, listen to that voice. Now, we know now, based on what she's done, that was all total nonsense. Listen to her delivery. The Democrats do this all the time. I am known, and I harp on this all the time, and I am again vindicated. The Democrat Party, in general, has no values. They do not mean anything they say. Now, I have to put a caveat on this. It has emerged, to my great sadness, that the establishment RNC also has no values. The establishment RNC is just Democrat light. They exist to serve their own pocketbooks via lobbyists. They are not a party of the people. I think Donald Trump has the option, could potentially be a juggernaut to both the corrupt Democrat Party and the corrupt establishment Republican Party. I think he's proven to be that so far. And the fact that they both align against him is proof of that. But my point here is the Democrat Party has no values. They don't care about what they say. There's none of that in what they say. There is no truth in what they say. There is no passion or principle in what they say. And this was a month and a half ago, whatever it was, that she said this. She clearly meant none of this. And that's true for all the stuff the Democrat Party says when they talk about bettering the lives of women. They do not care about any of that. By the way, if you were to go about in your life's quest to better the lives of women, you would not do it on United States soil. You would not do it in America. You would go to the places in the globe where women are actually oppressed. If you care about LGBT rights, you would not do it in the United States of America, where if you are a gay or queer, you are, a quasi-celebrity. You would go to places like Iran, you would go to places like Russia, you would go to places even like China, where they murder gays. The thing is they don't care about any of those things. They don't care about helping the poor. They don't care about the middle class. They don't care about women's reproductive rights. They don't care about any of those things. They care about controlling power via the federal government, and anything they have to say to do that, they will say. And the only reason I'm pointing this out now is because, is this not evidence of that? 240 years of a fabric, of a tradition where, it doesn't feel good when you lose elections, but it matters so much more that you are civil and that you accept the results. Clearly, Hillary Clinton, who what? Now, what has she done? Funded riots, put Jill Stein in charge of a recount, which she lost votes, by the way. The media forgot to report that. The conclusion of all that circus-like tomfoolery was the Democrat Party lost votes. Didn't fit the narrative, didn't get printed. That's a fact. And by the way, by doing that, that's a precedent, right? So next election, you're likely to see that. And maybe they'll swing enough electoral college votes to actually swing an election away from the will of the people. And we know that is in the thinking of the Democrat Party, because when the American people have voted on Prop 8, the American people have voted on a whole host of things, and the Democrat Party doesn't like it. The Democrat Party doesn't like the outcome, so a judge just comes in and throws the whole thing out. We know this is acceptable to the Democratic Party. So 2-3 elections from now, who knows what this tomfoolery is going to actually manifest itself into? They don't care about any of that stuff. They don't care about any of that nonsense. Power, Democrat, power. You got liberal Democrats out there now talking about how the states should be dissolved. Literally elected Democrats are talking about how we can no longer afford to have states because they don't do what we want. They call it tragedies like the Trump election. This is the other thing. This leads me to another bone I have to pick here. And I do apologize for the fact that this podcast is turning into a soapbox. The other problem that we're facing is the realization that for the Democrat Party, there really isn't alternative ideas. You see their reactions. So a conservative who campaigned as a conservative. Now, before you cement my words into that formation there, I think it remains to be seen if Donald Trump is actually a conservative. Certainly his behavior so far leads me to be incredibly optimistic about that. But it does remain to be seen. He's not president yet. He's not legislated yet. I have doubts about that. I think he's more of a populist. I think he's more of a centrist. But who knows? Certainly as a point in time, very conservative, more conservative than any president in my lifetime. But we will have to, the jury's out on that. But the fact that this guy campaigns as a conservative, then packs his cabinet with conservatives that are likely to do the very things that he said he was going to do, and the way they react to this, it's as if they're not aware there's two ways of thinking. And again, this is dangerous, right? To the left, there isn't an alternative way of doing it. There's the left way, and there's this apocalyptic sky is falling, Nazi-like. It's like you either do what has actually become extreme Marxist leftism, or you're a Nazi. There is no gray area. There's no alternative. And they believe this, ladies and gentlemen. This is what they think. This is what they believe. Also very damaging to a republic, very damaging to a democracy. Because if you don't even validate that there's another way of thinking, and the reason that they can go about their lives doing this is because every celebrity they know regurgitates this, every MTV ridiculous ad regurgitates this, every college professor regurgitates this. So it's very likely they really don't think. They really don't think the small government ideas, small government solutions, cutting government services, cutting federal, juggernaut control, over your life, the leviathan that is the federal government, shrinking that. They don't even realize that that's a competing idea because they're not even exposed to it. They're so intellectually inbred. But the fact that they think it's either leftism or catastrophe means what will they do? What is a person willing to do if that's what they actually think? If their political opponents are not competing ideas at the table of ideas, at the democracy table of ideas, but instead the I don't know, pick your favorite villain in a movie, in a DC or Marvel comic book movie. This is the problem. And I don't even mind. I have no problem with hyperbolic rhetoric. God knows I use it. I have no problem with imaginative, entertaining ways of saying things. But for the Democratic Party in practice, that they cannot accept an election means it's not rhetoric for them. They believe this. They are willing to pay for riots. They are willing to do these things. They are willing to threaten the lives of electoral college members who are obligated to vote the way of the people. I mean, they're willing to do these things, which means they really believe there isn't an alternative way of going about solutions. It's just remarkable to me. And in my lifetime, the older I get, the more having a conversation with a liberal is like this. They are incapable. they're incapable of realizing there's another. But when you say things to them, like, no, I do not want to impoverish the world. I do not want to strangle the world economically to go about some mythical, man-made junk science nonsense that you're pursuing that you called global warming, but are now calling climate change, but are probably going to call climate catastrophe tomorrow. They're just like, I didn't even realize there was people like you out there. Well, there are. There are people like us out here. There are people like us, and we're right. Does that salt the wound? It's like they woke up from the Matrix and somebody hit them with a glass of cold water. It's just remarkable to me. What are said people able to do is my question. And we're about to find out. Apparently, the Democratic strategy is to mimic the 80s, and then to add insult to injury, you just throw every lie you can think of at the canvas of what the American people have chosen in the hopes that you create a beautiful Jackson Pollock of BS. Thank you for listening to the Brock Lawley program.
Join the courage culture. Visit Brock's YouTube channel for an intellectual arsenal against the lies of leftism.